It's funny, isn't it? Okay, so I think we have started. Okay. Oh, hello and welcome each and every one of us, and you and every one of us that are joining today here. Tanya and I are all rainbowy. She's wearing all the beautiful rainbow colors, and I feel very rainbowy. I've been feeling loads and loads of love in the last few days. Yeshua has been around for the whole week. I saw that other people have noticed all over. There were all these photos, and finally there has been also a lot of humor. This is what he actually loves to see, a lot of humor to do with his memes, to do with his images, rather than just those of suffering. So we're moving out of suffering, and that's such a wonderful thing. And over to you, dear Tanya.
Yeah, I feel as we were sharing right before we started, I feel this beautiful, expansive doorway that is sort of like there's no longer even a doorway, and it's like there's this huge, huge opportunity for everyone and anyone, and no matter how stuck a person might feel, it's like, okay, now just forget about that and let's go ahead and do something new. It's like everything has become so much easier, so much lighter, so much more available that it makes everyone's journey much more simple and much more flowing, really. And so even when I come across people that feel stuck, it's easy to just shift that in an instant and realize something else, easier than ever before. So wow, 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 I'm so excited with these new times, these new opportunities that we now have, more collectively, because we've been experiencing this openness individually, but it becomes more and more a possibility for more people to experience that more easily. So, oh my God, this is it.
It's it, yeah. And before we get right into the compassion, which is the theme of today's talk, so Tanya and I would also invite every one of you to check out our websites, and also thank you for each one that has donated and donates every single time. You know, you are very, very appreciated, because that is what is making this possible, that we allow this program to be available in this way to many people. There's things to do with technology that do cost money. We do live in physical world, so thank you. And I would also like to invite people to check out the websites for private sessions. There is a 2-hour workshop coming up, class coming up with next month, coming up with Mary Magdalene, and it's going to be about dynamic change. I'm really looking forward to that one, because she knows, she's such a master, Mary Magdalene, and her presence, she just knows how to be able to work with every participant in very gentle but very deep way, to sort of enable everyone to assist rather than to radiate. She radiates her energy that assists everyone to be able to see their potential, to see how they can heal themselves, how they can step out of wherever they're stuck. And yeah, so my mind is not working very well, so do please check out the websites, because I forgot all
you
of
know,
the
there's
other
one thing
things.
there's one thing that we really need to invite people to check out, which is the ultimate freedom, which
Oh
is
yes,
something that
yes.
this year is going to be a joint event. So Alexis will be here in Portugal in June for the ultimate freedom. So we will actually have four of us facilitating this ultimate freedom program, which you can check out on my website or on Alexis's website. And what is ultimate freedom? It's exactly what is written, what the name says. It is this full-blown invitation for ultimate freedom, and it is going to be experienced in Tumar, the ancient Templar town, which is quite emblematic within the theme, because that's exactly the quest of the Templars, was precisely that ultimate freedom. And they explored it in many different ways. And now we are in new times, in a new kind of consciousness, but still, what these wise masters were attempting at the time was exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. And Mary Magdalene actually was very, very closely related to the Templar masters, and as was Yeshua. And Saint John the Baptist was really very strongly held within the context of their worship. And they were already at that time, and this is a long time, like around 1,000 years ago, they didn't practice a specific religion. They could be considered, in light of that time, heretics. And now, at this time, we can express with so much freedom and not have to hide, to express certain things, certain beliefs. But in fact, all of the masters that came before us laid the cement on the floor for us to be able to then walk on firm ground, and to now
The foundation.
exactly,
Yeah.
and now to be able to express that dream that they had. And so it's sort of like a huge celebration, I would say, a huge cosmic celebration, because that which has been laid over thousands of years is now coming to fruition. So it's sort of like, yes, yes, it's right now, right here. And so Ultimate Freedom, the program itself, is really just a really profound experience of the ultimate freedom from within, going through different layers of whatever might be in between, each one's feeling of that. But we are really excited about this partnership this year, and I can feel such a joy whenever I tap into that, such a liveliness, because this ultimate freedom that we have all been in a way desiring is no longer in the realm of desire. It is here now, and it's accessible now, which for me is just letting go of everything, really, and just enjoying that is right here, right now. And interestingly enough, I was perceiving in the last days how when we come into this freedom within, duality no longer has a grab or grasp on us, and things can mean two things, can mean different things at the same time, and that doesn't mean that they contradict themselves. And for instance, for me, less is more and more is less, and those two things are not in contradiction. So for instance, in my life, I have become so comfortable with less of what I thought was necessary to be in complete peace and fulfillment. I'm really have no specific needs in order to be in that fulfillment. Just where I am right now, even if I stay in the same place for loads of time, actually I don't really feel like moving around that much in the moment. But just because there's that fulfillment is just there, permanently there, and so there's so much less that it's really absolute simplicity. And then again, more is less, because our essence is so much more, and yet it is absolutely simple. So that the belief that I had many years ago, I had the belief that, you know, when we embrace our wholeness, our divinity, there's some kind of a grandiose, it's like some sort of a grandiose thing, like being sovereign. It has some relationship to eventual royalty or whatever like that. And I realized that those were just sort of ways that the human mind perceived something that was beyond conception, and that sovereignty, that grandioseness, that grandiosity of isness, of essence, is so absolutely simple. So the more is so much less than it seemed to be, and yet it is so much more than I could ever conceive. There is so much more in that less, in that nothingness, in that just here, just now, in not having the needs, in not having the desires, in not wanting for more. So these are really fantastic times we are living, and I feel that these last 2 years, where the whole world has been challenged to let go of the needs and the wants and the desires, have been paving again the way for this possibility of experiencing the grandness in simplicity. These last 2 years have been a constant invitation. You know, okay, can you be confined and still find freedom within? Can you live with restrictions, whatever they are, and still know that they do not define you? Can you, for instance, for people who have lost their jobs or who have had to reformulate the way they work or whatever, can you do that and realize that you're not losing anything? The invitations have been constant. Can you not be traveling so often and still find fulfillment in the simplicity of your everyday commonality, in your home, in the space that is right around it, in the town where you live? It's been constantly this invitation to find that freedom, that oneness, that essence, that complete fulfillment in that simplicity. And the reason why I'm going around all of this within the theme of compassion is precisely because all of this is compassion, is coming to a space inside where the acceptance is so absolute that there is really freedom. So for me, freedom and compassion are one and the same thing. We call them by different names, but in order to live that freedom, compassion is the essential key, the essential component. Being in acceptance, which is compassion, that absolute total acceptance, that unconditional love for all things, is what provides that level of freedom, of ultimate freedom. And so this has been my experience lately. What about you, Alexis?
Well, I've just been enjoying, listening and feeling into what you've been talking about, and I've sort of been traveling all the different worlds and potentials of what is possible with being in this space that you've described so beautifully. And it is just such a joy and such a satisfaction to be in this space and to be in this space of simplicity. And for me as well, especially since I am reorganizing my life to spend a few months per year in Europe and a few months here in Australia. So I've had to really continually having to clean out. I used to clean out my place. Every year I would have this big spring clean and take things and into donation boxes and stuff like that. But this time there's like a whole new level, and yet I clean out, and then the more I realize, oh my gosh, I still have so many things. And it is this thing that it is just this constant abundance. Like you can't really, it's just like this constant recycling,
Yeah.
like in nature, that you just keep recycling. You think, wow, then I'm gonna feel like I'm empty, but it's not, because you just create more space for new things to come in. And because the perception has been so different, like my perception of what it's not anymore limited to this one world. I'm in a physical world, and yet I perceive so many things are happening at the same time, that like there isn't any emptiness ever, and yet there is this incredible simplicity, because like you said so beautifully, we don't need anything. When you are self-satisfied, when you have accepted, you are not in any need of anything, and yet you have everything, because you are
Yeah.
free. You keep letting things go because you have no more fear. You have no fear that if you let things go, that there will be just this emptiness and maybe it won't be replaced. The river, it just keeps flowing. This giving of soul, of I am that I am, just keeps giving and giving and giving, for the experience. So it's really hard to empty oneself in the old
Yes.
sense, because it
There's
doesn't
always
really
more than
exist.
enough.
Exactly, yes. So it's really funny how it works. And for me also, like I've been experiencing this incredible joy in this, and just in not like in this simplicity, just sitting on some rock somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or sitting in my car listening to music. Nothing, like you said, I feel like I'm royalty in a sense, because I've accepted myself, because I am enough as I am. So I feel incredibly royal in this way.
Yeah.
But this royalty means a very, very different thing than what I, as a human self, I used to imagine, and what the matrix is saying. This is what royalty means. And what, like you said, everything, accepting everything. There isn't anything that is less important or more important, or that has this more value or less value, because all is my energy, and my energy is valuable to me all in the same way. So when it just changes all these patterns into what I create. So for example, if I create a chair, or if I create a table, they're not any less valuable, because it's just all my energy anyway. So it's a very, very different in how I perceive things. And I wanted, yes, it is I, Yeshua. And I wanted to greet each and every one of you. I've been looking forward to it the whole week. And I've been chatting with Alexis as to what I'm going to say, and how I'm going to feel as I commune in this way with you. And I am too so happy that you're finding me in this joy, in this happiness, because in just recently, in one of the what you go these classes I described, I talked a little bit about my life after the cross. There's been decades and decades of my life with Mary Magdalene, with my family, with my friends, with my children. I haven't actually disappeared straight after. I've walked this earth for a few decades as a master. I've experienced many, many of the things that you're experiencing, and that's why I can relate to you. And yet, if I can pull out what I most celebrate out of those few decades of my life, when I've let go of being famous, of being known, when I've gone into the privacy of my own experience, I wanted to enjoy this physical life. I wanted to enjoy those beautiful Mediterranean sunsets, and that beautiful ease and grace of that afternoons and mornings, when it's all in the morning, when it's all fresh with the dew, And in the afternoon, when you have that golden light and the beautiful food and the glass of wine, I enjoyed life. And this is what I want to bring. If any message there is from me to you, enjoy life as it is. Do not wish to be somewhere else, to be someone else. These are all but illusions. Enjoy who you are. Enjoy your body. Whatever age it is, whatever gender, it matters not whether you have what you perceive some health issues or whether you feel healthy. Feel that life, that brilliance of life flowing through you, your soul flowing through you in this joy, in this burst of creativity, of life, loving itself. For like Tanya mentioned, these truly are times now where you can realize this, where you can feel this, where you can live this, you can live it. And yet it requires this choice over and over. It requires you to come back to yourself. It requires you in compassion to let go of anything that is stopping you from this incredible, incredible abundance of life that is flowing through you, as you, in you, outside of you. Feel this incredible spark of life, this incredible brilliance of life that is you. So this is my message from today, for today. And over to you, dear Tanya.
Thank you so very much, Alexis and Yeshua, for this beautiful message, which is basically the joy. And I've been sharing about the joy meter, which is a really cool way to realize if we are aligned with that simplicity, with that more than enough lifestyle. The lifestyle of the soul is always more than enough. So the human doesn't need to fear. Sometimes people tell me, oh, but the soul hasn't been here, so the soul doesn't know what my human needs are. That's bullshit. Sorry to use that kind of expression, but yeah, it is bullshit. The soul knows absolutely everything about you because the soul is you. So there's nothing the soul doesn't know. And so the soul can only provide more than enough because that's what it is. It's more than enough of everything and anything. And so the joy meter is like feeling inside, feeling in our core, feeling. So, okay, feeling and sensing different experiences, like feeling work. Okay, how does your work or the way you generate your abundance, whatever it is, it might be work, you might qualify it in so many different ways. How does it feel? How does your joy meter scale? So is the joy meter down or is it halfway through? Or how can you make the joy meter go up? And then in whatever relationships you have that are more present in your life, feel the joy meter. In your relationship with yourself, feel the joy meter. How much are you allowing that joy into your life? How far up is that joy meter? Because the joy meter determines the capacity to allow more abundance, to allow abundance. Abundance is just a general term here. I mean, I don't mean necessarily money, I mean everything. I mean absolutely everything. And I was having a beautiful conversation just right before we tuned in about the fact that we can be navigating on the ocean and just hanging on to a log for dear life, or we can be in a boat where we have a different kind of scenario. But no matter where we are in the ocean, the fact is that we are the ocean itself. So it doesn't matter what kind of experience it is. It can be an experience that feels more constricted or more limited. It can be an experience that feels like more fun. Like, for example, being on a surfboard and surfing the waves. So, what is it that each one has to feel for themselves, what is it that I choose in this moment. And as a human, you'll always be at least somehow having the notion that you are not only the ocean, but the one that is experiencing different facets of the ocean. And so, yeah, you can choose to be on your surfboard all the time and ride with the waves, or you can get frightened with the waves and feel like, oh my god, a wave is coming, what am I going to do now? And that is the opposite of compassion. So whenever we get stuck in the opposite of compassion, we have the kind of experience that Yeshua has spoken about so very often, about suffering, the experience of pain, of suffering, of denial, all of those things, which is an experience, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you drown or not, you're the ocean. You're always going to be the ocean. You're not going to stop being the ocean because of whatever particular experience you're going through. And having this awareness constantly there allows the joy meter to go up, because then if you realize, oh, wait a minute, so I am the ocean, I am the waves in the ocean, and I am the particular experiences I'm having on the ocean and inside the ocean, and really all of the creatures in the ocean are also me. So you're all of it, which is the same as saying that it's all my energy. Everything is serving me. So if my joy meter is right up there, energy will be serving that. Energy will be serving that kind of consciousness. Now, how does one keep the joy meter right up high when everything seems to be falling apart? Like, imagine if like, if a person is going through huge turmoil and their life just sucks, and they feel like they don't have enough money for everything they need, and whatever, the relationships are falling apart, and now this smart ass girl comes and talks about the joy meter, like, oh, come on, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do. I really honestly do. I've been in those kinds of experiences, and I really know what it feels like to be in the midst of the tsunami. And when you're in the midst of the tsunami, what do you do to keep the joy meter high? You can do it anyway. You can, I don't know, you can do whatever you like, what you enjoy, like on a daily basis. Do you like going for a walk in nature, or do you like dancing, or do you like, I don't know, do you like baking a cake, or do you like picking olives, or do you like whatever? I don't know, just in your environment, in your life, you know what you enjoy. So despite the turmoil that seems to take up all of the space, it doesn't. It only takes up a few moments or hours in your day. Then you have the rest of the day to choose how you're gonna use your time, because when we're in the midst of that turmoil, it seems like it's only that, it's all that, and you can't see anything else. And then when you're not sort of interacting, or in that job situation, or in that jobless situation, or in even a homeless situation, I don't know, I mean, it could go always, then you're entertained feeling low and depressed, and oh my god, it's so hard. And what if in those moments when like nothing is really happening, you can choose to do something different? You can choose to, despite how bad it seems, go ahead, be bold, and defy that belief that it's looking really bleak and really hard and really insurmountable, and that it's never gonna pass, which is a lie, because everything passes in this reality. Nothing stays, even the joy. And so you can, even the joy, what do I mean? You can't always be on a high. The joy can be nice and simple and really quiet and serene. So there are different levels of joy. When I say the joy meter, I don't mean euphoric kind of joy necessarily, that you always have to be dancing and singing and laughing and all of that. It's not only that kind of joy. Joy is also being able to feel at peace is also being able to quietly enjoy those beautiful sunsets Yeshua was talking about. Joy is being able to sit at the table alone or with your loved ones and just enjoy the taste of whatever is right in front of you in that moment, and just so simply be there. Joy is being present. Joy is allowing. Joy is realizing the more than enough, is realizing there is so much more than just that bleak, small, contained perspective of the human that's hanging on to the log. That is joy. That is joy. So really also opening up the belief systems, because sometimes they tend to confine us to certain ways, and then we can't experience a certain thing because we're expecting it to be that. And if it's not that, it doesn't qualify. So therefore, oh, then I'm not in joy. Or maybe you are. Maybe you're just sitting quietly with your eyes closed, breathing, and you're experiencing joy. And it's so many different things. That's why being the ocean, or knowing that you're the ocean, gives you so much more leverage. Because then, even when you're on the log, you can remember, oh, but wait a minute, I'm also the ocean. And then go on and experience being the ocean. And then you can come back to the log again if you want. Or you can be perceiving the log from the perspective of the ocean, and then you can find loads of other ways through and past that seemingly bleak, hard, whatever situation you are in, if it is the case. Just in case this declaration to bring up your joy meter might be challenging, well, look at it from the ocean that you are, and then it's a different ball game, and things just change. And when change needs to happen, it will happen. It just will happen. So either you ride along with it or you fight against it, but it's happening anyway. So I mean, why not enjoy it instead? And now that is so available at the moment. That is right here, right now, for anyone to choose to perceive. And but as you were saying, Alexis, choice is the thing. Where do you choose to be? How do you choose to experience whatever it is you're going through? Compassion is what allows the choice to be the one of, okay, I choose acceptance. I choose to go along with whatever this experience is bringing to me, with the abundance of this experience, because there's abundance in every kind of experience. No matter what it is, there is. There is an abundance of something. So realizing there is that, then you can go along with it. Go along with it. Allow it. It will definitely shift. It always does.
It does. And, you know, and sometimes for me, it was just saying, even this shall pass, because some of the things that we experience in this integration, they really, you couldn't actually experience that without the presence of the soul, in the embrace of the soul, because they're so intense. You're facing your deepest self, you're facing yourself, you're facing your shadow, you're facing your darkness. And so that things that, for example, people, let's say, that are still unawakened, would never would traumatize them, you know, like sometimes when I've experienced something, some kind of like really full-on integration, I thought, wow, you know, this would just knock someone completely off. And yet when you have presence, when you are where we are, each one of us that is here, that is attracted to these kind of talks, you are in the place where you already have enough presence. Not that that there is more or less. It's just awareness of the
Awareness
presence
of
rather.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we can really work through anything. And that's what actually amazed me, how unfazed I was, how things just didn't faze me. So even when I then experienced some things that a normal person would just go sick or something, for me it was like, oh, it's nothing much. It just, you know, you become like, you go into like really a different kind of category of what you can not just tolerate, but what, because you become fearless and you become so trusting, and you're not alone, because you have this support of the soul. And soul, like you've so aptly described, is everything. And so when you are on that log, which, you know, like you are on that log many times in many ways, in the storm of the sea. And so, yeah, what is the worst that can happen? So that is one of the things that I also had to face. What is the worst? Like, what am I afraid of in this moment when this is happening, that I'm thinking, okay, everything is falling apart, and what if the worst happens? And then it's funny when I've allowed and accepted, and that's that compassion, the compassion, which means that you just keep radiating and accepting everything as it is, without wanting to change it, without wanting it to go away. You just are with it, with that being on the log when everything's falling apart, and you realize, wow, what if this is the worst that it will ever be? What if the worst does happen? And I allowed it to flow through me, and all of a sudden it was gone. That acceptance, that compassion towards that, completely changes the energetics of that experience. And then you move again, of course, into a completely different space with yourself, where much more is possible. And so when things like that happen, you just are with it, and you just breathe with it, and you just allow whatever fear to come with it, and you just allow any other lifetime to bring any fears, and you just let it go through you. You just transform it, because you can just look with that presence that you are of the soul. You can just look at all of it with compassion. And you know, a while ago, when I still was perceiving myself as a human and soul is separate, you know, it was actually a very cute time. It was a beautiful time, because it was like a love affair, and it was like getting to know me and me, you know. And you do experience so many cute and funny ways, like if you allow it to be joyful as well, and also some very angry things, you know. And one of the things that the human self was always so pissed off and so cranky is the compassion of the soul, because the compassion of the soul means that it is just okay with everything that a human is choosing. So the human self would say, oh, this sucks, this is fucked up, blah 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 blah, you know. You soul, you don't love me because you're not doing anything about it. You say you're huge, you say you're God, you say you're all these things, help me change this, you know. This is the human the human thing. That's the kind of conversations I used to have with my soul, because you're getting to know who you are, what it is, and it's just a beautiful part of, like, I look at that part of my life with just how the human self, so innocent and so, you know, so self-righteous, how things should be. And the soul is just in this incredible compassion, meaning that as a human, you can actually express absolutely anything. You can be as foul as you want to the soul, and nothing will happen. And this was a very important experience for me, because it meant that I was able to let go of all of those imposed conditioning of the human that says, no, if you love someone, you have to be like this, you have to do this, you have to know, you have to be authentic. And authentic is sometimes not pretty, you know, especially when you're allowing all these aspects and all of these of foulness of the centuries of lifetimes that we've been involved in 3D to actually come to light. And the soul, that's where you actually also realize the unconditionality of the soul, because it accepts absolutely everything, and also that incredible compassion that just is there radiating without wanting to change. The soul is not wanting to change the human self. It just allows the human to go through its growth, to go through its changes, because the human part of the soul is that experiencer. So it is the part that the soul has created as a physical being, and it experiences it. You're like an instrument of the soul through which all of these experiences flow, and you're like this music that is an instrument that is being played, and then you create the music that is kind of like the wisdom that then goes back to the soul, kind of in that way, so there is nothing the human can do. And that's a huge relief, because a lot of the times people are stuck in those very dramatic situations because they feel, oh shit, so how is the soul going to perceive me if I really see that I've been playing in the mud, and I've been playing in suffering, and I've been playing with this. And when you realize that, wow, all of this is okay, the soul has no judgment, and then the human self can also release and become compassionate towards itself, and it can become accepting of everything. But it is a process, and it is a relationship, and it can be really funny. I like, for me, it was funny at times. Okay, so I don't know whether that should be public, but okay, I've decided to just say it. Like, one time my human self, I as a human self, was so pissed off with the soul, and it's like, how do I get back at my soul? How do I get back at my soul? And so I was on the toilet doing very physical things as the physical reality. And I said, well, dear soul, I'm going to be extremely present and aware so that you too can so it's kind of looks like very childish, but you can have this really beautiful, because these are the memories that you have of everything that has happened to you as a human being, a soul in the in the image of a human being. All sorts of things happen, and this journey is incredible. And what kind of memories are you going to have, and stories, that you're collecting, and all of these things. Like when you are on this log in the middle of the ocean, it's going to be a great story. But when you're in it, like Tanya described, it's about that realizing, when you are on that log and you think that's the only reality, you have to then choose in that space whether, it could be, for some people are experiencing depression, and for some people are experiencing all sorts of like very, very chronic long-term things that they have never experienced themselves outside of that definition. So when you are in that space, and I was as well. So what I did is I just realized, wow, so what about if I'm just okay? Okay, so I'm very depressed and I'm at the bottom of my bottom. What if I'm just okay with it? And just be with that depression, be with the dark thoughts, be with whatever is there, and just be breathing with it. And that automatically changes it. And then when I did that, I became familiar, because a lot of the people say, okay, I'm depressed, but they're not really familiar with their depression because they're always trying to escape it. You see, they're always judging it. They're always in the mind about it. Being in the mind about it is not experiencing it. It's not being intimate with it. So you become intimate with it, and you become intimate with all the parts, and you realize, wow, that's actually a certain space here. Then you become intimate and you see how it feels. And yeah, it feels very dark, but then you realize, wow, I feel completely alone at the bottom of the bottom. And you know what? I still am. I'm okay. The worst has happened because I've realized that I'm on the bottom of the bottom, and I'm completely fine. I still feel, I think. There's nothing wrong with this space. It's just a part of me. And then I became familiar with that, then I was able to start realizing within that space that I am multidimensional being, meaning, like you described, there are many realities at the same time. Even when I felt myself depressed at the bottom of the bottom, feeling completely alone, I was in that particular box of experience. But when I then actually allowed myself to be in that experience rather than try to escape or think about it, I felt it. Then all of a sudden I realized, wow, look, there is a lot of space here. There are other things that, wow, there is love here, that this space has opened all of a sudden because I was present, because I was conscious. I brought consciousness in that space. I allowed myself to become aware in that space, and I then all of a sudden became aware of all these other spaces that are around. And then I became aware that I can actually step in and out of these things, so I don't have to have this depression to completely how can I say, permeate me, because I can now put it aside and I can then feel all these other things that have nothing to do with this dark depression, and that has completely changed. So that's what means being multidimensional means. For some people, they say, and, this is what it is when you can actually allow yourself to realize that, wow, this is just an experience, that it's like a computer game. I'm completely immersed into this computer game, but outside of it, I am actually completely whole at the same time. I am completely joyful. I will never be any more joyful as I am in that moment, because I am multidimensional. So complete joy exists in that time as well. But I just need to be present for it, to become aware of it, so that awareness of it comes into my purview, and then I can then choose that instead of choosing depression. And that's what the creator is. You realize yourself on that level, and these are the levels and layers. You do walk through those kind of gateways, and you come to this level when all of these experiences are kind of like that, and you perceive yourself much bigger here in everything, and then all of these experiences become your choice. You can start choosing, oh wow, I can choose this, I can choose this, I can choose this. But when you're just stuck in this one reality, you have no choice. So how do you get from here to there, if these places exist? You really are just aware. You are in experience, because being in that presence in the now moment with whatever you have created, whatever you have focused on, that and in there, then you become aware of all these other things. There is no other way. You can't escape yourself, and you can't escape your experience, because you are a creator. So what you have created, you have to learn how to come out of particular experience. See, other people can always like be an inspiration. We can talk about it, we can discuss it, and you can think about it, but it is experience. It's always experience, and sometimes it's uncomfortable as fuck. Can't say it any other way. It is, but it changes that too. It's just being present. And for many people, this being present, that's why people, you try to escape, because there's so many things initially that are unpleasant in that now moment, because you have, as a human within the mass consciousness, there are so many judgments about yourself. So like, as a master, once you're a master, maybe nothing in your reality will change. Maybe you will still be in the same house, driving the same car, in the same body. You're not going to look like some kind of image of a 20-year-old model. You're still, but you're completely changed your attitude and your perspective of it, because you're outside of judgment, you see. And so your reality is not as bad as you think it is. It is the mass consciousness has taught you to judge it in such a severe and bad way, and to not accept it. So we don't accept our bodies, we don't accept, there's always someone richer, there's always someone whatever, like you're always taught not to accept yourself as you are. And this whole journey is about this compassion, is about this complete acceptance of who you are, where you are. And that often doesn't mean that you don't have to change anything, but all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'd never liked my life, but look how incredible abundant it is. Or you just change all of these perceptions about everything of who you are, because you can't escape yourself. And for me, very often, this was the thing that helped me through those really difficult times, when I realized, well, it really, perhaps there's no other reason that I'm choosing and allowing to change, to allow. It is just to realize that I will always forever be with myself. So I have to change my relationship to myself. I have to love myself, not because someone else is saying that I have to, because I want to experience my life, my being, my I amness as joyful, as self-loving, as beautiful, as this incredible, celebration of life. And if I want that, then I have to change all of those negative ideas about myself, all of that terrible self-hatred, that I've or even despising of self, because that's what you see, that the matrix, the mass consciousness, is all about that. It is about teaching every human being to despise themselves, because there's always someone better out there. That's what the matrix says, that one should be more like, that one should aspire to, and stuff like that. So it is all of those kind of lies that this process is letting go of, and how, what is the balm, the healing of that? It is this compassion, it is this acceptance, because compassion means you just accept everything as it is. And funny, just like we talked about earlier, when you accept, when you want to give things away, more comes, so you never can be without things. It is the same with this compassion. When you finally accept something that you hated about yourself, you realize, and you want it to change forever, and perhaps you tried all these pre-prescribed things that you can read in magazine, or the ads will tell you, and nothing worked. And finally now you accept it, and you realize, wow, I'm become okay with it, even if it never changes. And funnily enough, then it changes, you see, but not before that, because all it wanted is to see your face of acceptance. It didn't want it all it wanted is for you to stop turning your face away towards something that is fake, that is fabricated. So you become more and more real. You become more and more real. So this compassion is not some kind of fluffy thing. It is this incredible real thing. It is this thing that can look into the eyes of the darkest of the dark and feel joy and feel love. It is not something that closes eyes to anything that has happened in the world, to anything that has happened in your lifetimes, that anything that people are doing to each other, that people are doing to other beings. It looks it right into the eye, fearlessly, boldly, without blinking, and with compassion. And that's what compassion is. It's not some fluffy thing. Over to you.
So I've got two different things. So a piece of humor here. It's really when we accept peeing and pooping that you realize, Oh, wow! What a fantastic experience. Like, when you really feel like pooping, it's such a relief when you sit on the toilet and just let it go. It's like there's nothing wrong about that. It's like when we're in
No.
that kind of mind frame that, oh my God, that's a horrible thing. It's so gross. Ugh. But then you realize, oh no, it's so good. I love it. I love peeing and pooping.
And you do, like, we have these big diarrheas when you have big cleansing,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah, and you enjoy it, and then you realize, oh wow, having a human body actually has such a wonderful palette of experiences, and that is like when you sit on the toilet and you are experiencing it from your soul. Oh my God, there's so much joy in pooping and in peeing, and
And,
so.
and so this is what another funny thing is, that the human self got even more pissed off when it realized it didn't bother the soul to be.
Exactly. And we tend to see the fact that we need to pee and poop as a limitation, like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm stuck in this physical body and
yeah,
I
yeah.
have these physiological needs. Well, you always have the choice. If you don't want to have those anymore, you can become a breatharian and you can live just on prana and not eat or drink, which is totally possible. And then you
Mm.
don't have to pee and poop. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. That's an experience. So if there's such a big problem with peeing and pooping, that could be a thing. But anyway, you would never achieve being able to live as a breatharian if you are in conflict with any part of your physicality. So it won't work
Mm.
anyway. So yeah, so let's put that one aside, to stop eating and drinking just so you don't have to pee and poop,
Mm.
because if there's still a non-acceptance of a part of your physicality, breatharianism won't work anyway. You won't manage to be in that space of consciousness where you can actually really allow and believe fully that you can live without food or drink. Then on the other hand, there's the other point where you can live without food and drink, but still you also enjoy the tastes and the textures and the different experiences of eating and drinking, which you can't do when you're only soul, when you don't have a physical body. So I mean, all of those experiences are 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 available and are to be celebrated. So if one has this really deep sense of wanting to become a breatharian and release the need to eat and drink, but from a natural standpoint, not because I mean you have to do it to be more spiritual or to be more connected, but just because you feel, okay, now I really feel this deeply. Fantastic, magnificent. That is a beautiful experience. And it really shows that nothing, absolutely nothing, not even food and drink, can limit the experience and the expression of soul through physicality. And that you're not going to disincarnate if you stop eating or drinking, if you are in that mode of full acceptance that you can be fed through the breath, through prana. So that is fully available and possible, and thousands of people on earth live that way. But
Mm.
on the other hand, so if you're still eating and drinking, you'll have to pee and poop. But that's a wonderful experience. Like, when you really need to go to the toilet and you
Mm.
can, and you feel that relief, and there's nothing wrong about it. There's
Mm.
nothing dirty about it. It's just, I mean, there's this thing where people even drink their urine as a therapeutic kind of thing. So, I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities. Now, going beyond peeing and pooping, another thing I'd like to talk about is the past. The past. I find sometimes I work a lot with people that have traumas that are so hidden that they don't even know they have them. And so, but what happens is when one feels this self-loathing this big self-hatred and the hopelessness, the powerlessness, etc., that's because there's a part of us that feels that way about itself. And that part resides necessarily in the past, because it is a part that has experienced something, whatever, that made us split in that moment, so that that part could contain those feelings of self-loathing, of self-hatred, of feeling powerless, hopeless, whatever. So that part split. This is an intelligent mechanism that we have as souled beings, that we can split parts of us so that we can continue with our lives, and that those parts are not going to completely cripple us from continuing to experience whatever we have in our reality. And so at some point, when we start becoming aware, and when we start really choosing, yeah, this is what I want. I do choose to allow more of my soul. I do choose to allow more of this merge, of this connection between human and divine. Invariably, all of that which was then holding that space of non-acceptance, holding that space of what we call darkness, has to come forward, because all of that is a part of the ocean that we are. And so for this merge to happen, no part is left out of the party. No part is left out of the celebration of reunion. And what happens is then, many times it becomes uncomfortable even to breathe, even to stay in that silence, because that silence sometimes then becomes a bit noisy while we're going through these transitions of integration, because those parts that were just screaming in a box can now be heard through the box, and we hear that noise and tend to want to not acknowledge it. But the thing here, just like you were so beautifully sharing, is okay, so you're breathing, you are in a space of silence somewhere in you, and on the other hand there is all of this noise. Don't try and shut it up, because that is your treasure. That noise, the treasure of all of your hidden powers, reside precisely in that noise. And so sometimes people ask me, say, but why do I need to go and muck around in the past? That is a mind concept. You're not mucking around in the past. You're just saying you are no longer past. You are now allowed to come into my now moment and become one with me. That's the whole point. Because as long as something is stuck in the past in pain, so that thing is in pain and it's there, and you are trying to go ahead and live your sovereignty and bring that joy meter up, and that part is stuck there in pain, oh, it will be making a lot of noise. I can assure you it will, and because of my own experience as well with that. So those parts, they're just beckoning for compassion. They're just beckoning for, well, will you let me out of this prison now? I mean, has been my job. I've been holding this for you all of this time. Can you look at me now, or am I still too scary? Can you look at me now, or am I still necessary? Or do I still need to keep on holding this for you and creating drama and creating pain so that you can remember that I exist? And what happens is, sometimes when that whatever traumatic event from this lifetime or another lifetime, it doesn't really matter. It's all the same thing, really. It doesn't matter how far along our chronological journey on Earth it has happened. When that starts coming forward, sometimes there is the tendency to get stuck in shock. And how do you avoid getting stuck in shock? precisely. You are in this space with your soul's compassion available, and you are looking at that experience, perceiving it, not from a point of judgment, as in, oh my God, that was so terrible. How did that happen? And if you were the victim, oh my God, how could those people or that person or whatever or have done that to me? Or if you were the perpetrator, oh my God, how could I done that to whoever, whatever, you know? How do you not get stuck in that? Only through compassion, through viewing that experience, accepting it fully, because the first thing that comes forward invariably is, this can't be true. And because this can't be true is the key to that keeps the doors locked. So if you tap into some sort of something that you didn't know existed inside of you, some sort of a memory, something that happened, and your immediate reaction is, this can't be true, rest assured it is true. So whenever it comes forward like, this can't be true, now you know it's true. And I found that that is really a simple way of releasing the need to be attached to, oh my God, this can't be true. Because once the mind brings you this information, this can't be true, what it does is it immediately starts giving you reasons why it can't be true, and it tangles you up in such a knot that then you can't recognize the thing that you've just tapped into. You're not available to feel that, to realize that pain and to unlock it, because you just get tangled into all of the reasoning behind why it can't be true. So first thing, this can't be true. Okay, let go. It's true. It's true. Right. Now, if you accept it's true, what are you going to do? You can fight against the fact that it's true and be the one holding on to the log and so on, or you can, okay, it's true. Now, where does truth reside? Truth resides in your soul, right? So soul is the vessel of truth. So allow the truth of that thing that happened, which is in fact part of the world of illusion anyway, to be brought to the greater truth. And the greater truth in you will help you see that, perceive that with so much love. Because then you'll realize that through that experience, no matter how hard it may have been or what it seems to you right now, through that experience, you have provided yourself with a myriad of other experiences and growth and expansion possibilities that you have happened to become. So you have become the one you are right now through that experience, not despite it. And this is maybe sometimes also a thing, like a kind of a blockage. I think, oh, no, because I'm a warrior and so on, and I've fought to be here despite all of my pain. No, it's not despite of it. It is because of it. It is because you have been through all of that you then come into the more of you. And once this perception shifts from despite, that means this has been bad, into because, which means that thank you, I am very grateful that I had these experiences. And you realize that no one experience is greater than you. No one experience can determine you. You are the sum total of all of them. Therefore, you had that experience, but you are not the experience. You are the result of all of the consciousness that has evolved from that. Then you realize, wow, I'm magnificent. I mean, I could go through such an experience, and there are loads of those in our lifetimes, and whatever, in this lifetime, in different lifetimes, I could go through all of this, and yet this has made me more even than I was before I ever experienced any of this. This has built me. It has not destroyed me. It cannot. Nothing can destroy us ever. This is strange sometimes to acknowledge, because if the small human self wants to be destructible and wants to feel like less than the ocean, but then you realize, wow, no, that experience, it didn't destroy me because I'm still here now, perceiving it. I mean, if you're here and you're perceiving it, then it hasn't destroyed you. That's all there is to it. So what's the point of going and diving into these past experiences? You don't go and dive into these past experiences. You stay in the now moment and you allow these past experiences to be known to you, so that you can perceive them from the point of your soul that is absolute compassion. And you can only perceive that in the now. So you're not really going into the past experiences or mucking around in the past or whatever. No, you're not. You're just allowing the past to no longer be past. You're just bringing it into your present and your presence, so that you can acknowledge and say, thank you. I acknowledge your service to me, because nothing has ever happened that is misplaced. It seems to be misplaced when we are judging it. It seems that things have happened that were wrong and I've made all of these mistakes and so on and so forth. Well, yeah, you can perceive it in that way, and you have a certain type of experience when you're perceiving in that way. Or, from the point of the soul, there were never any mistakes. There were never any failures. So to, like in the way we see them, there were just different kinds of experiences. And so then the human will come and say, but if I accept all of those things that were bad, then I'm gonna maybe be stuck in being bad and in being a failure and in being, well, yeah, if you're perceiving it like that, that's it. I mean, that's your experience. But from the point of the soul, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. And therefore, the quality of bringing that back home, important is that you don't bring it back home, really. You invite it back home, because it only comes when it sees that you are fully honest with this acceptance. Otherwise, it won't come back home. It will just stay there, lingering around, making your life not so interesting or nice like you'd like it to be. But when you are really authentically in that acceptance, that whatever it is will come back home. And when it comes back home, you feel so much abundance. I mean, it's, oh wow, it just brings in so much. And from the point of the soul, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. I mean, there's never been like a sort of a grand purpose in experiencing separation or forgetfulness as we see it, in experiencing darkness, in experiencing suffering. And like, it's not like there's this sort of grand purpose towards salvation or something like that. It's just experiencing something else that soul is not, which means that if you are choosing to merge with soul, you just cannot be those things anymore. So no worries at all, because soul is not those things. Those things have just been experiences. For soul to perceive, human form or physicality in different ways. But then when the moment comes for the merge again, you just cannot be certain things. It's not possible, it's not feasible, because that's not what soul is. Basically, soul is the sum total of everything, and yet it is none of those particular experiences. So, first, it is true. If you're perceiving it, it is true. Okay, now, release the shock. There's nothing to be shocked about. It was an experience. Come into this space of compassion. Allow yourself this moment to just be here with that, to not try and deny it any longer, to not try and say, oh, this must have happened to someone else. I must be seeing things wrong. I mean, this can't have happened to me. Release that talk. You know, these thoughts might be coming into your mind. You let them go. You just let them float away. And you stay, and you stay, and you stay. And that child or children or teenagers or whatever will come forward, will come closer to you, will approach you, and will look at you, and will check you out, and will see, and you'll be saying, okay, come, I'm here for you. And still that part of you or parts will be checking you out. And still they will be trying to cause some sort of adrenaline-driven experience to see if that's still driving you, if that's still something that part of you is supposed to be doing. Because these parts, what they do is they create these kinds of sort of inner explosions of fear, inner explosions of worry, inner explosions of even panic attacks, stuff like that. They create those in order to numb themselves down. So once you're in sort of like a fear or panic attack or something, you're numbed down. Your whole level of awareness is completely shut down. So that part can live with that. That part knows that. It knows how to live with that. So it's possible that when you start inviting a part of you that is driven by that kind of fear and so will be providing that kind of experience. And in that moment you can smile and you can realize, oh, now I can choose. And you can still be feeling the panic, but still you can choose because you're aware that you can choose. That's the key. You're aware that you can choose. So you can go all the way down panic lane, or you can stop midway, gather your track back, say, okay, right, so I'm here now. Let's do this. Let's just embrace this whole thing. So you sort of get out of your own way and allow compassion to be the one bringing everything back. So you will no longer be looking at sort of like when a past experiences come forward and you, oh no, again, now why do I need to go back into the past? You're not going back into the past. You are staying here. You're not going anywhere. It's the past that's coming back to you. And then you realize there is no past, present, and future. There is just a whole one experience of all different kinds of natures going on all at the same time. But that's not relevant right now. It's really what's relevant is to realize that as long as you're not fighting against whatever you're feeling, and that yes, definitely it does come from the past, because otherwise you wouldn't have any relation to what that kind of feeling. It's okay. It's okay. It's just you. It's just you in another kind of atmosphere. So change the weather. You change the weather, you come into a different kind of weather inside of you, and then that atmosphere will change gradually. Maybe not all at once. It will change gradually. And the reason why I'm saying that is, so when you find you're tripping over again, don't go into that, oh my God, how can I be so stupid? Why do I keep on getting into these emotions? Why do I keep on getting tricked into believing I'm less than enough? Or why does this keep on happening? Oh, let go of that. Let go of that. No judgment. No judgment whatsoever. It's okay. You're on the way. That thing is on the way back home. It's okay. You tripped? No worries. Come back. As soon as you notice you've tripped, come back into that atmosphere, into that climate of soul, and stay there. Don't allow the other atmosphere to just take you over and go in that. If what you want is full integration. If not, well, that's okay. But if you get stuck in judging yourself, saying, how can I be so stupid? Why does I don't know who how can they do it and I'm not capable? That comparing kind of thing, it's so limiting, and it doesn't serve any purpose at all other than keeping a person stuck in a certain mode of smallness, of the opposite of the grandness that one is. And that's it. It's really simple. It's not easy sometimes because the noise gets really rough when there are certain things that have been hiding for a long time and they come forward. And they only come forward because you are aware and conscious and ready. Nothing comes to your awareness if you are not ready. So sometimes also I find people get, maybe I wasn't ready. Bullshit. Of course you're ready. If you weren't ready, you wouldn't have become aware of it. So that's not necessary either. Maybe I'm not ready. Of course you are. Nothing comes to your awareness if you are not available for it, which means, in other words, ready. So you're available, you're ready. That's it. Just embrace it, embrace it, embrace it. Let go of the need to be less than that which you are. Let go of the need to judge yourself, of the need to believe that you are not already where you want to be. Everything else is just on its way back home. When you're in that constant awareness that you are also soul, you are there. You're there. You're where you want to be. Everything else comes to you. You don't need to go and pick things up and go after them and try and force and fix anything or anything. You are there. You are. And it's like these beliefs we have about being a master and whatever, in order to be enlightened, this and that and the other. And in order to be a master, this and that and the other. And in order to be sovereign, review those beliefs. Maybe they're not serving you. Maybe there's a whole load of beliefs around being where you've always wanted to be that keep you thinking that you're not where you truly are right now. So letting go. Compassion is a constant letting go. Constant. That's what scares the human, is this constant emptying. But then once you realize that as soon as you empty, you've got more than enough of everything, then the fear goes away. And then you can be in that mode of constant letting go. Acceptance is a constant letting go. Letting go of beliefs, letting go of fixed thought patterns, letting go of habits, letting go of whatever it is that you thought determined you. Constantly, on a daily basis. It's like each day I find out more about what is possible for me. All the time. I'm always discovering. And I never know who I am in total. And I can't. It's not possible to know. To know in our mind, it's not possible. But it is possible to perceive and to experience moment to moment new levels of me. That's what life has become for me. New levels of me. In my letting go, in my not being attached to, oh, I like this, but I don't like that, and I'm good at this, and I'm not good at that, and well, yeah, well, but if I feel an invitation from within, and even if I had a thought that I'm not good at that, but if I'm feeling that invitation, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and try it out. Otherwise, I wouldn't be feeling the invitation.
And there is so much like in what you've explained. You know, it's funny because some people think that you and I have these big conversations before we start, and we actually don't. We just set up dates. We don't discuss any topics. It's just funny how there's so many things that you've described that I experienced as well. And because you learn, it is just such a natural process, and you learn how to deal with certain things. And for me, the main thing, that's why, like in, let's say, if we say, okay, so we're teaching, or, you know, we're talking about this, the main thing always in all of the stuff that I do and put out is this ability, it is this presence of soul. So it doesn't matter what title it is or in what way you put it, because it's allowing the presence of soul. It's allowing the awareness of soul to be with you, to be as you, to be in your life. And that's why that practice, especially perhaps at the beginning when you're still running into your mind, or perhaps for many, you know, they talk, but they don't experience the presence of the soul. And it's only in there that you learn automatically and naturally how to do all of these things that Tanya described. So it's not like you have to even read many books, because in many places there aren't any books written about this. And even if you read the book, you can't read about how do you bring this part of you home that is lost.
You don't own it. You have to own it.
Yeah, and how you experience that, and how do you actually do it? What do you do? What do you do with your breath? What do you do? How do you do this? And you know it, and this is the amazing thing that I've always been amazed about with the presence of the soul self, is that all these abilities became available to me. So all of a sudden, you know, I just knew how to do these things. Where did I learn them? I haven't learned them anywhere. And you just learn, and once you know, then you kind of know that process. It's always a little bit different with every part, but you know, it's not even just traumatic things that really deeply traumatic. It is just the nature of the life that we've been living, that we experience such a variety of things. So for example, let's say if when I was a child, or even like as a teenager or as an adult, let's say somebody that I loved didn't want me back, or perhaps I really felt, and they didn't feel the same way, to actually then allow myself to experience that, wow, somebody does not feel the same way. That as just a human can be, you know, people go for years into depressions and all sorts of things, perhaps even in addictions. But now it's like, it's okay. Someone that I love does not love me back. It's okay, you see. And it's not just thinking. It's not that I have to create this kind of story, or perhaps start putting them down, you know, so that to try to make myself not love. It's just, like you said, it's just an experience that I can fully be present with those parts of me that hold that, wow, those parts really did experience rejection, and it felt, and when you are allowing these parts to come home, this is what happens. You feel those feelings, you feel that rejection, and it's very for short time, but you feel it fully, then you know what that actually feels like. And like you said, it doesn't kill you, it doesn't destroy you, it doesn't even traumatize you. You realize, wow, that's just an emotion, and it's okay, I'm still here, this has passed. But I found that when I brought all of these things home, or for example, let's say when I was a child, and all of a sudden a good friend found another friend, and you experience all sorts of emotions to do with that rejection and all sorts of things, and those child parts have held those. Or perhaps the feeling of powerlessness, that is very, very prevalent in childhood, and especially when your trust is being in that way betrayed, or an adult has abused your being a child and not knowing things and stuff. There's awful things to feel in that way, and yet there are parts that carry that until you are ready to feel them. They come, and then you actually feel what that feeling of powerlessness, it washes through you very quickly. It happens. And this is the funny thing, is the resistance that is painful, really painful.
Yeah.
And you can resist for months and months, and then your life really sucks because this part wants to come home, and you resist, and that is creating friction. It's not this beautiful part coming home that it's creating friction once you allow it to flow through you, because this is what consciousness or enlightenment means, that you bring not that you bring light to these things, they already have light because they're part of your soul, but it is just that you bring awareness. You all of a sudden become aware of what this experience washes through your consciousness. Yet all of a sudden you know what rejection actually feels like, what it feels like to feel powerless. And they're not very comfortable emotions to feel, or that extreme anger or animosity. You get to really know all these things because you become intimately in touch, because they flow through your heart, they flow through everything. And this is that juice of wisdom that your soul then collects, because now it knows what that feels like, and it doesn't judge. It's glad that, wow, this is something I didn't know. I as consciousness didn't know what that felt like. Now I know what rejection actually feels like. And then what happened to me is all of a sudden, then I became much more whole. When I integrated that part, I came home, I felt it, and all of a sudden I became a different person. So every time I integrated a big part like that I kept away from myself, all of a sudden the image that I had of me was all of a sudden very different than what I had just before. It's kind of like before, I always had this word halfling. I was so many times a halfling, but all of a sudden now I'm a fooling, a fool. All of a sudden I'm whole. There is a very defined feeling of wholeness. It's not like some kind of something I'm trying to get, but all of a sudden there's this parts come home. All of a sudden I feel myself, and then I would say, wow, so this is what wholeness feels like. I didn't know what wholeness feels like, but now these parts are home, and all of a sudden, like you said, they do carry treasures because they have incredible talents in there that was locked in there in that dungeon, and it's locked until I bring it home, and all of a sudden I can see further, I can see more potentials, and I can actually be much better in this world, because perhaps before I didn't know how to not defend myself, but didn't know how to stand up for myself, didn't know how to say no. All of a sudden, these parts have all these kind of abilities, and it's not to get me into battle or anything, but it's just to, now I can see, you see, when I bring that experience home, let's say powerlessness, then I can all of a sudden see I have clarity about all of the powerlessness games, because I have experienced it in my life. And all of a sudden, then I can stop participating in them, and I can see when other people are participating, and I can look in the matrix, and all of a sudden I recognize all the powerlessness games that before I was blind to. I was blind to that because that part that was carrying that experience was in the consciousness dark. It wasn't conscious, I wasn't aware of it. So as I bring this home, I keep changing automatically without, just by that fact of being whole. And all of the things that I used to be the theory words, like things like redemption, things like absolution. These are the parts that carried that. When they came home, I would say, wow, so this is what redemption means. Then another part would come home, wow, this is what absolution means, because I didn't even know, but there was so much guilt attached to that. There was so much shame attached to that. And now I've got absolution because I am now free in relationship to that. But before that, so much of my energy was locked into that experience. So all of these experiences have so many layers and so many different benefits and things that, unless we can talk about it, but it's actually just actually experiencing this that you see, and then how you change, and then that's when all of this space opens up, and then you can see it. I can see with clarity. I can see, look at things with clarity. I don't have to close my eyes, to not see certain things, and then I can make incredibly better choices in what I choose. And all of a sudden, all those really maybe toxic things are gone from my life, because firstly, because this, I don't have all of these unaccepted parts that are creating that toxicity, but also because I'm just making different kind of choices. I'm making loving choices. All of a sudden, all of that is gone from my life. All of a sudden I have space to, like Tanya so beautifully said, all of a sudden I can do things that I love because I have space. I'm not locked into those kind of, like unaccepting situations. I don't know, maybe that's not the right description, but it's just so much of your energy is locked away in this, so that you don't really have time. It appears that you don't have time for anything else. And so this, like you said, it keeps releasing, and you keep being with yourself. I keep being with myself, and I keep noticing things every day, like you also mentioned, that I can make different choices. All of a sudden, oh, look at that. Why did I do it in such a hard way? Oh, look, I can do it in a different way. All of a sudden, this becomes easier. So it's not like some kind of, this life falls onto you from some outer space or something, but it is because you keep choosing and you keep making these better choices, and then you all of a sudden know how to make these self-loving choices, and you know how to make choices from acceptance, and all of these new things become available that before I was completely blind to, and new people and new whatever. And in that and it all happens very naturally and with simplicity, but at the same time, I am incredibly active and dynamic with all that is happening, with all that I am, because the presence of the soul is incredibly dynamic. It is completely quiet and peaceful, and yet it is never, and it's always still, and yet it is dynamic. And that's that contradiction that is always expanding and fully alive, and yet incredibly simplicity and peaceful. So you just keep allowing, and you keep experiencing, and you come to some big thing or whatever's happening in a mass consciousness, you feel it, and because we are the transformers, you become aware of it, you transform it. Some days can be frustrating, but everything you can deal with, and you are never alone. And it is not just that you can deal with, it's exciting, because all these new dimensions and worlds and perceptions become available, and all of a sudden you think, wow, I was so afraid of perhaps dying, or I was so, but that other side is now already available to me. So all like they're incredible benefits, and what actually comes up that you can actually change, because you go through layers and layers. So like the onion, you're at one layer and that is possible. And once you keep reaching different kind of layers of yourself, what becomes possible was not possible before. But again, that is an experience. You see, I experience, wow, look at, I perceive these things. All of this is now possible to me. It's not that I read about this or think about it, but it's a physical, real, not physical, but a real experience that all of a sudden I feel, I know, like every day I get to know something new or perceive or have another aha moment or see things, or all of a sudden I realize, wow, yesterday, all of our non-physical friends, I didn't perceive them in this way, but now today they're much more closer. I can hear them better, not with words, but as in like understand their communication or feelings or this interaction or the reunions. That just is never boring. I could just really be lying in my bed all day really and have these things happening. Not that I am, but sometimes I remember there was one time that I had to sit and wait for something for about an hour or 2 hours or something. And it happened like this because I was like, in the old days, I could be pissed off and think what I should be doing, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, let's sit. And, I allowed all these worlds to be with me. And 2 hours just went like this. And I'm like, wow, I want to stay here longer. It just is a very, very different kind of way of being in the world. And a lot of this, it really is you with you. I find that, like all these being in the world, that I'm never alone, and yet there's just these depths of experiences all the time, and the gifts and the abundance of things and the creation and the aha moments. And that all has to do with just being willing to have done that work that is really very simple in a way. You just keep coming back. Like Tanya said, you keep coming back to self, and you keep choosing to be, and you keep choosing, and you keep allowing. There really is nothing else that you need, really. But we do need each other, because we, in those times, because sometimes it does get hard, and we share and we communicate in this way, and we encourage each other through those times. And that's what makes it even more beautiful as a group as well. I think we've gone,
I think we've gone full circle, yeah.
When we've gone nearly 2 hours. So we'll just have a look and see if we have any questions. We have, hi, beautiful girls. Hi to you, dear. Hello, beautiful girl.
Marcia, thank you.
And I'll have a look and see if we have any questions on any Facebook. I think we're good there. So if anyone has any questions or wants to comment, now is the time. But otherwise, yeah, we've talked and talked and talked, and now we're beautiful.
Sometimes it feels like we are the same one talking, but with two voices. It's incredible. It's really incredible. It's such an interesting feeling.
But I also feel that it has to do like with, with being able to recognize a master. Yeah. You really do, because there are these similarities.
Yes. We are very different and have very different experience, but then it's like it's the same voice.
The same, exactly. And I think that's what many have, have mentioned this, like, let's say Saint Germain often mentions that, before you have the two eyes opened, you can't recognize, but once you have, then you see the two eyes opened in another person, you just recognize them instantly, and you can relate, because it doesn't matter what language you speak, what continent, there's so many things that really are of no significance, of no importance. They're just simply the colors of life. They're the colors and hues, and tastes and flavors of life. They're not better, not worse. It's just a simple preference and a variety and uniqueness of all these different things. And
Yeah.
and I think that's why and that's what is such a beautiful creation for me, because I've not really worked with someone else in this way before, that we would do on a monthly basis. And for me, the way I do my things is my preparation is just with being with me. It's different than what a human would think, like writing. I don't write lists or anything. I just need to be clean in myself, clean and with myself, and vulnerable with myself, in self-love, and then all that information can flow out.
Yes.
Yeah, and now with you, this is the amazing, because we work in the same way. It's not like we prepare and discuss the topics.
No, we never have, guys, we never have conversations other than on this time. Like, yeah, we share messages or something, but we don't sort of book a conversation prior to get ready or anything
Nothing
whatsoever.
So today we just said, oh, hello. Yeah, in 1 hour we see you. Yeah, cool. And then tomorrow we'll say, okay, what date?
Okay, so what date is it next month?
And then
what theme are we going to choose?
Yeah, one of us is going to come up with theme, and neither of us care what the theme is, because it always comes perfectly, and both of us can just give ourselves a word and we can talk forever about it.
It's lovely. It's really, really a blessing. I am very happy to have said yes to this invitation from my soul, from your soul. It's just from us. I mean, we provided it for us, and we said yes, and the experience of this is just amazing. I am very thankful.
And it's so free flowing and graceful, and it's just a reflection of this beautiful new life, as what life can be for every human being. And this is how we can do any business or anything that needs to be, because physical world does need things to
there are
be done.
things that we do, that we create, that
it needs roads, it needs houses, it needs all of these things, and we didn't know before how how we're gonna, because those interactions with people can be the most challenging, and yet there is an easy way. So okay, so let's see. We have some questions. Okay. All right. Hello, beautiful angels. It is such a pleasure to be with you live, and to you, dear angel.
Thank you, Ranka. Thank you very much.
Did you want to read the next one?
Thank you so much, Alex and Tanya, for today's session. It really touched me in so many ways. You both danced together so amazingly well. Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, it feels really great to dance together, and with you too. Thank you.
And with each one of you as well. And the next one, the Caseys, I channeled you both in this morning, or you both were channeled, me and myself. Also, P and Pooh, wonderful.
There you are. The whole shebang.
The whole shebang. There is nothing about human experience that we have to feel shameful. It is just intimacy and taking all the clothes off, inner clothes.
Yeah.
It's like dance with soul.
When we start a new relationship with someone, and there's that initial time when we're sort of a bit shy of going to poop in front of that person. And it's taking that barrier away with ourselves and with life itself, and saying, okay, yeah, I do pee and poop.
Yes.
Yeshua did too.
Yeshua did too. And we all fart, and Yeshua did too. And Mary Magdalene farted if she had that beautiful beans.
And it smelled for sure, so whatever. Not roses for sure.
And it's good to break, because that some cultures have such strong ethics around
divine beings.
Oh my
and that.
God.
Yeah.
And and the language, I mean, they just use the same language, simple language, everyday human language. Oh no, we come to you from the United States. That's it. It's very, very simple. It's very present. It's very everyday. Okay, so
All right. Thank you.
Show, and until next time.
Lots of love to everyone. Thank you.